Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward...
We might not be in Las Vegas, but wild cards and jokers are on our minds as we head to Daytona Beach for round 5. Randall White rides a wave of momentum while Edgar Sancinelli looks to tread water at the top of the AM standings, and so many storylines could change so quickly today at the World Center of Racing. Hi, welcome to Pit Stop TV and the virtual Daytona International Speedway. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with Emerson Arden alongside in the booth. And Emerson, here we go. Daytona International Speedway, the World Center of Racing, as it is aptly nicknamed. It, of course, hosts the annual 24 Hours of Daytona. It hosts the Daytona 500. It plays host to so many big events, and while Round 5 might not be hyped up as a big event for us this evening, it is going to play a pivotal role in our championship.
Absolutely right. This is just about the midpoint of the championship season. The points battles are still as tight as ever, and if you need to turn your momentum around, what better venue than to start with the bang here at Daytona? And of course, you'd be leading on to the second half of the season, but the time is now if you are going to be a serious competitor in your respective championships.
A whole lot, I think, is definitely on center stage for us at Daytona today. Let's get into the sim and check things out as we are fully under the lights this evening at Daytona International Speedway. And boy, it is always fun to be under the lights here at Daytona. That's the wrong track map. That's the right one. Two broadcasts in one day. It can get confusing. But here we go. Daytona International Speedway. It is just about what we all know and love here at Emerson. We say that a lot, but this truly is a road course that I think every racing fan can relate to. It is Daytona International Speedway. It's just Daytona. It's a Daytona road course. Everybody knows it.
Absolutely, it's a fan favorite. It's a driver favorite. It's nice. It's flowy, and then of course it's on the iconic Daytona International Speedway. You look at it, you got a heavy braking zone to start off the lap with turn 1, where you're coming off the banking from the tri-oval onto the flat of the infield. Then a twisty section through the S's in 2, and then heading your way down to the to the International Horseshoe with turn 3. The high-speed king in turn 4. You just got to keep drivers on their toes. And the West Horseshoe in turn 5. There's always debate on what line should be ran through there. Turn 6, coming back onto the banking. Again, another transition. This time onto the banking causes for a lot of loss. Rear grip, getting up to speed. And, of course, 7 and 8. That's just, you're waiting as you continue to go up through the gears and build speed on your way down to the newly named Le Mans chicane, as that deal was done this year, or this off-season. High speed, or back straight away chicane. You go from a high speed, heavy braking zone, straight through a chicane, hit each curve perfectly, and you're right back on your way onto the oval. And that's a quick lap around here.
We'll check in with the point standings coming into today. I briefly mentioned Randall White in control of the series and after winning at Silverstone a week ago, finally getting that first win of the season and stretching out a big lead over Terry Crouch and Sam Holt. I think, honestly, that's a pretty sizable lead for 4 races in, and I think one that he can be relatively comfortable with. He's not going to lose that today unless something really weird happens. So long as he executes, he's going to be in a good spot even after today, no matter what happens. And you can see all the way down through the top 10 on the pro side. Flo Dom's in 10th. On the amateur side, the orange side though, Emerson, Edgar Santinelli still technically outscoring Randall White, but Edgar Santinelli leading the way in amateur, and it's a slightly tighter race, 12 points apart there, with David Payne a little further back in third. So whereas closer for second, it's more spread out for third and fourth. It's a really interesting balance, and really the rest of the amateur field is much more wide open.
Absolutely, there's so much up for grabs, especially here, if you would call it the midfield of each of these classes, especially the amateur side. And all that can, of course, change with a race like tonight. If I can recall correctly, one of the drivers in their post-race interviews last week just really looked at this race as a huge slipstream fest. And that really could, it adds a little bit more of a variable to what kind of racing we can see tonight.
Heading down on track for the first time today, you get a look at, some of the cars out there. That's Olar Sarnquist that we talked about in that BMW, and that might actually be one of the cars to watch. In fact, let's actually bring the track map back up. The GTE lap record, yes, it was set by a Porsche here. It was set by Yuri Kazdorp at a 138.458, but the BMW, if I recall correctly, was actually second or third on that list, and it makes sense. The BMW, I think, is going to flourish today. It just feels like the racetrack to do so, and I can't wait to see what these guys are actually able to do in those BMW M8s today at Daytona International Speedway. We are into qualifying, and cars are heading out on track with 8 minutes and some change to go. Alesh Mom getting on track. Really, nobody has actually begun their first lap times aside from Nicholas Batista, Todd Alea, and Elliot Hellier. And Emerson, we finally have a Ford GT!
Yes, we do. Look at that. It's a beautiful looking livery on there as well. Elliot Hellier bringing the heat here in the Ford Mustang and coming off of NASCAR.
No, that's a Ford GT. That is not I will correct you there. I know that's one of those things, but that is a Ford GT. It is beautiful. I am so happy. Elliot, you're finally here. And you know what? Elliot had been trying to make the previous races of the season. Terry Crouch had let me know that there were just things that didn't quite work out for him, but he's finally able to make it for this one. And this is so cool to have him here and in a Ford GT for the first time. This is... We finally have it. We had every other GTE car on the channel this season, which makes sense. But then the Ford GT, finally Elliot shows up in this one. And you know what? This was the first one that we used the Ford GT in the thumbnail for, so it's kind of fitting.
There you go. We're right on board. Oh, a little bit of loss of rear grip there coming through to West Horseshoe. But still on it here and into turn 6. And I'm guessing that it said that they were on a timed lap, and that's probably because their pit box is on the other side of the start finish line. So I guess technically they did set a timed lap, but did not pop up on time and scoring it.
It actually may have been that they were leaving the pit lane and they were behind the start finish line with their box. That is sometimes something that happens. But Elliot Hellier headed down the Daytona super stretch to the bus stop chicane, and the Le Mans chicane now, and you can see how that Ford sets into that chicane. It pounces on the nose, and braking is one of the big issues with this car that we've heard from drivers, and that's why they tend not to go with it, because it is a beast on brakes, and it's just so hard to keep control of. And how about that? Joao Antonio to the top of the board, and now Jan Christensen on his Ferrari. So we're going to see these guys start to set their qualifying times. We'll bring the ticker up, but definitely I think we're going to see a wild card race. So we're going to circle back around to that number. So we're going to see some wild card action here today. We're going to see the same guys playing around at the top of the board, like Sam Holt, who just went fastest. But we're going to see some guys that might not usually go to the top 10. I think go to the top 10 for sure.
Absolutely, and it's also because this course is not as technical as most. So it allows the times to be a little bit more closer. There's not as much difference in lap time here as there would be on other tracks, because it's just easier to keep these cars kind of like shrunk together with lap time. More or less, the braking points are very straightforward, and we see it just reflected in the time. Randall White goes second there.
Porsche's at the top of the board via Sam Holt and Randall White. Randall 2/10, a little bit more than 2/10, almost 2.5 tenths off of pole currently. I do see a new Chevrolet in the background, a new Corvette, and it actually was not this one, but we do see Dale Maxwell, a new driver to the series now in, coming through the kink. There was somebody else that I'd noticed in the background. I wonder if it was Brandon Carl, and yes, it is. Brandon Carl, a brand new look on this Corvette. That is a new one, and that is striking as well. That definitely stands out.
Can't miss it, right? Looks like a lime green Corvette running around here under the lights. Bright colors. It's going to be hard to miss. You should be able to see it.
Easy to spot for sure from the spotter. This is from the spotter perspective atop the tower at the World's End of Racing, and that is definitely going to be easy to spot from across the racetrack if he does have a spotter with him today. But that is a bright race car. Moving around the rest of the field, Kenny Stepp is here in his Ferrari, and oh boy, he's got company in the form of car 426. That's Kevin Burrows going on by, Wolfgang Rausch just behind, and we did not see Wolfgang last week at Silverstone. I do not recall, so he might have been there, but I don't recall the 71 making much noise at the very least, so good to see him back here today and in 7th currently in qualifying. The top amateur car so far in qualifying, Emerson, is Dan Killar, and he's actually headed back to the start-finish line, Emerson. Might he go faster? No, looks like he's a couple of seconds, 3 seconds nearly off his best time, but he's almost down to 0.6 of a second off of pole. That's not so bad.
On the flip side of that, Santinelli is way, much further down the running order than expected so far, but there's still 3.5 minutes of qualifying for this to shape out, and we're watching Killar here working his way through that first horseshoe. Looks like it was a little awkward through there. He was a little tight to the inside curbing there. We'll see if he's able to maybe keep up or improve that lap time there into 1:14.
You mentioned Ed Santinelli. He was, he is one of the 3 BMWs that shows up each week, and this time in the Frito Sport livery, as he has been all season, but he is well down the order right now, 16th of 20 qualifiers so far. Not the day that he wanted to have, at least so far in qualifying, with only 3 minutes to go, but we'll see if he can go any faster this lap. He's nearly 2 seconds off pole time. Can he drop that at all? And no, and honestly, Emerson, what these BMWs might be looking for is the draft. It is a big car. It's going to be tough to get that one through the air. So when they can get brake in air, when they can use the draft, I think those BMWs will be a whole lot faster. But if they lose the draft, clearly, or if they don't have draft, it's not a good time to be a BMW driver. I do want to mention somebody out in the field who actually has not set a lap time just yet, Sean Cole, who a lot of you guys from the Simpit, you'll know his name, and you'll know why. He owns the Simpit and has a weekly show on Fridays at, I believe it's noon Eastern. I've checked into that a couple of times now. Maybe it was noon Pacific. Regardless, I've checked into it a couple of times and really do enjoy what the Simpit has to offer for, just content in general for sim racing. So, this is not just the Simpit, being one of our partners here with the Simpit Road Racing Series, but genuinely, I've checked into a lot of the content recently and kind of initiated myself, and I really enjoy a lot of the content that Sean Cole and everybody else at the Simpit is able to put out, and I really enjoy the weekly show that Sean Cole has as well as he goes to 12th on the board in qualifying. It is really cool that he's able to recap all the news throughout the week in sim racing, even recapped Casey Kerwin's eNASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola Series Championship. Just recaps everything. He even recaps these league races and talks highly of us here at Pit.TV. So a big shout out to Sean Cole and everybody else at the Simpit. Here's Todd Alea, currently 2nd in qualifying. Randall White is 16/100th of a second back. So very tight for 2nd, but they're both 2/10 off pole.
Yeah, Todd Alea, he's coming off the pit lane here. I don't know if they're going to have enough time to get back to the start-finish line.
No, I don't think so.
So I'm assuming Alea's going to push and try, but it does not look really viable for this 27 to make it back to the start-finish. It looks like if there's going to be a challenge for Sam Holt at the top of the timing sheet, it's going to have to come from somebody else already out on the circuit.
Well, Jan Christensen just started a new lap in 4th position in qualifying. Joet Antonio is also on track. Stan Donna is currently in the pits. Johnny Alford and his Corvette, he might be able to do something, but I really think it's going to have to come from somebody like Jan Christensen to try and knock Sam Holt off that top step. through the West Horseshoe, rather, almost an International Horseshoe. Nice and tidy to the inside, but that does not feel like he's pushing too much, Emerson. It looks a little too in control.
Yeah, and he comes back onto the banking here about 50 seconds into the lap time. I don't know. We'll have to see, but he still has to climb through the gears, get through the Le Mans chicane, and still get back up through the gears again.
Cars left on track currently: Elliott Hellier, Dale Maxwell, Ed Santinelli, Moses Choi, Wolfgang Rausch, Joao Antonio, Jan Christensen, and Todd Alea.
So through the Le Mans chicane, got 22 seconds to make it back to the start-finish line to beat his best time. And then it's another 3/10 to top Sam Holt's time through NASCAR, 3 and 4. 10 seconds now. I don't know.
We'll see as Jan Christensen comes down to the start-finish line. Is it any faster at all? It is faster. It is a 1:40.078. Is that enough for pole? No. It goes second ahead of Todd Alea and breaks within 1/10 of Sam Holt. A beautiful lap time, but it's not enough for pole. How about Elliott Hellier on track, though? He's out of the Le Mans chicane, Emerson, and he is going to come around NASCAR 3 and 4. This is his 7th lap, and he's going to stuff it. It was not quick enough. Well, then the final round of the chamber is going to be Dale Maxwell. I don't think Todd Alea made it back around in time. So Dale Maxwell, the final opportunity to move anywhere in qualifying. We'll see what he can do in his Chevrolet Corvette. Brand new to the series. To the line. Is it faster? It looks like it's just faster, but not fast enough to move up at all. He will stay 22nd ahead of only the drivers who did not start a qualifying or complete a qualifying lap, those being Mike Nickum, Sven Labe, Ken Estep, and Elliott Hellier. Todd Alea is still on track, but I don't think this one's going to count. And yeah, he's coming to the pit lane. So if anything, that's just some pit practice, and I can't knock that, I will say.
All right, and get slowed down to pit speed, I would assume, and that should do it. But yeah, pretty intriguing qualifying session there, and it's because of that the track temp at 69 degrees, very cool, and got a little bit of wind, 6 miles an hour out of the northeast.
Out of the northeast, that's going to come from from NASCAR 3, I think, and come across the racetrack. So that's going to be a headwind into the bus stop, and maybe a little bit of a crosswind into turn 1, but I don't think it's going to be too terrible for these guys to deal with. A crosswind into the kink, though, might push these guys a little bit. Might just have some of the looser setups a little bit more on edge, potentially, through the bus stop, especially on cold tires. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Under the lights here at Daytona International Speedway, it's always a sight to behold, and boy, it is a beautiful one. Look at this place all lit up. It is definitely one of the best sights in motorsports. Let's take a look at our starting grid this evening from Daytona International Speedway. On pole, Sam Holt in car number 18. The Englishman, always so good here in the Simpit Road Racing Series. Starting second, though, Jan Christensen from the outside of row number 1. Starting third, it's Todd Alea, Randall White there from 4th. That's your point leader. Joao Antonio starts from 5th, Stan Donna from 6th. Wolfgang Rausch will start from 7th today, and Dan Clark is your amateur pole sitter. How about that? In position number 8. He will start from pole in class, with Johnny Alford and Moses Choi wrapping up the top 10.
11th, we'll find Brandon Waters, and 12th, we'll find Kevin Burrows in the 426. Back to row number 7, we will find the 34, James Dowling. The 39, Sean Cole, make up that row. Back to row number 8, it'll be the 73 of David Payne, and the 008 for Chris Schulteis. Back to row number 9, it'll be Ed Santinelli, looking to see if he can make up his ground here on the opening laps. And Ola Sarnquist there in the 18th position. Back to row number 10, it'll be Nicholas Batista and Alesh Mom.
Starting from 21st, though, it's Brandon Carl in his Chevrolet Corvette alongside Dale Maxwell. So 3 Corvettes in a row back here, and there's even one more in the form of Mike Nickum, it looks like, as well, on the outside of row 12. Elliott Hellier, though, starts at the inside of row 12 from 23rd. Mike Nickham will start from 24th. 25th, it's Sven Labe in a, well, actually, he hasn't gridded up yet, so Kenny Stepp will actually take 25th position, and we'll see if Sven Labe is able to make it to the grid, and it looks like the answer to that question is no. Pace car lights have been extinguished, and it looks like we are close. Yes, we are going to send cars, so it looks like no Sven Labe or Dale Maxwell. I think Dale Maxwell actually gridded up, but no Sven Labe at the very least in the grid, which is unfortunate to see as everybody rolls away. We talked about weather already, Emerson, but we can take a look at it again. Rather cool temps, maybe a bit of a crosswind, nothing too crazy here at Daytona. What are you expecting?
I'm gonna expect a little bit of chaos here in turn 1. Not really anyone going around, but more or less just everybody packing up and maybe the aggression to gain some positions here through the infield the first time around is gonna be at its highest.
Our schedule here for the Simpit Road Racing Series, I guess, is not actually going to pop up for us, unfortunately, but it'll be taking us to Monza next week. So I guess we don't have that graphic to run this time, but Daytona today, it's Monza next week. A whole lot of racing coming your way this season. I'm so excited to get this kind of double big-time speedway almost feeling set of racetracks going today at Daytona National Speedway. It's Monza next week. I'm excited. Here we go, down to the Geico restart zone. I don't usually say that on a road course, but our race leaders are into that restart zone, and green flag is out here at Daytona. Let's go racing for 60 minutes. One car through the grass. That is, tough to say, actually. That is going to be a Porsche. That is Moses Choi on the inside of the racetrack. He comes to a stop, and we'll let everybody go on by as he drops to 25th position. Sven Labe did not make the call for the race and is currently credited with 26th. We'll see if he's able to make it to the racetrack at any point in time. Into turn 6 for the first time today and back up onto the NASCAR Oval. A couple of cars off. Ola Sarnquist for the BMWs, and actually both BMWs in the back of the field. Chris Schultheis will go off as well. The only BMW that stayed on track so far this lap is the Frito Sport machine. Our amateur pole sitters off pace and might fall into the clutches, actually, of that Frito Sport Ed Sanchinelli 57 car. And Elliott Hellier is going to pinch off, and that is contact back here for 15th spot. A whole lot is happening here on lap 1.
Well, there's that aggression. We saw 4 or 5 cars go off there in the infield, and Dan Clark, Sanchinelli looks like a little sideways there through the entry of the Le Mans chicane, loses a little bit of touch through the center of the chicane, and Dan Clark now has the advantage on exit as opposed to it was the other way around in 1 and 2. Sanchinelli could not take advantage of Clark being off the pace, but the battle is on here for the top of the amateur, points standing. It's not the top of the amateur running order because that goes to Brandon Waters.
It's also on in the top 3. Look at this. 2 Porsches and a Ferrari in the top 3. And I don't see a Terry Crouch today as well, so that's going to really impact the standings. I didn't think about that just yet, but that's really going to change things up. As Sam Holt, Jan Christensen, and Todd Alea battle at the top of the board. Randall White, your points leader, is mired in 4th currently after the start of this race. Joao Antonio 5th, Wolfgang Rausch 6th, Stan Don at 7th. The entire running order there on the left side of your screen. Let's go on board actually with 2nd place. Jan Christensen as he tries to put some pressure here on Sam Holt. Do you think he'll be able to?
I think it's too early to tell, right? Right now, everybody's still trying to get a feel for it. I don't know if either of these drivers are pushing to 100% right now, and I think we're going to have to wait and see. If Jan can keep Sam in view or right in front, or even get a little bit of help with the slipstream that he's getting right now. He's just gained a 10th by this entire way through NASCAR 1 and 2 and down the backstretch. Certainly, this race could continue on for the next half hour to an hour.
On board here with Jan Christensen out of the Le Mans chicane. This will be a day that's full of battles, it looks like, as you see the tracker there, bottom right, tracking the gap from Christensen up to Sam Holt for the race lead, and he's going to have the draft all the way around to the start-finish line and into turn 1, and he might have an opportunity to get alongside by turn 1. Yeah, I think he will. He's going to go to the top side, and no, these guys are teammates. They have the TLDR mark on the side of each of their cars. They're going to play nice up front. I think they realize the opportunity they have with Tatalea behind them. They can play... I mean, they can play team up at the front. They can play team orders a little bit, and Christensen at this point can help Sam Holt move up in the standings. I think that would be most beneficial to them at this point in time with where they each are in the standings. So that could be what's happening here. A little bit of team orders in a friendly way as Nicholas Batista is off in turn 1. The green Corvette has come to a stop, and Sean Cole has issues with James Dowling in the International Horseshoe.
So we've had a lot of cars go off here in the infield here in the opening set of laps here. Sean Cole, looks like there's no damage or no real visual damage to that machine as he gets rolling away. But we're going to get a look back at what happened here.
And first, it's Nicholas Batista. I called it a Corvette. It is very much a Ferrari 488. But into turn 1, the rear just comes around on him. Meanwhile, Sean Cole into the International Horseshoe might get a punt here from Elliott Hellier maybe. And no, Cole actually, I think, was trying to avoid Elliott on the inside, and he got in real deep and just moved Dowling out of the way. And you know, Sean had a big braking issue at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks ago into the, what was it, the heel of the boot? Actually, it was in the laces, but let's watch this. He came from way back. He really got in deep there.
Yeah, I don't think that the intent there was to make a lunge from that far back into the corner, but yeah, there's a lot going on there. And as far as what happened with the Ferrari, that tends to happen. I feel it's so easy to come around, the rear end to come around on the Ferrari, trying to slow those cars down. So I've seen what happened to Nicholas Batista. I just flashed back to the laps I took in the Ferrari around here. Like, oh no.
Watching now the battle for 7th. Stand on it, Johnny Alford. There's battles all over the racetrack. We'll try and keep up with them as best as we can. But yeah, there's a lot going on today. I see a lot of the gaps are down under a half second between cars. That's always a good thing to see. It just makes our job a little bit more tough. As Stan Donnet works around the West Horseshoe. Johnny Alford in that Corvette, he's recently turned up the wick and I think has been sensational. Honestly, I really have enjoyed what he's been able to do. As we watch from his onboard, he does track out way wide. That was actually way out there compared to where he should have been.
Well, it's available racetrack, so might as well use it, right?
Yeah. Well, a lot of guys will actually track way out there to save the tire a little bit, not restrict themselves to just the bottom of the racetrack. And in an endurance race especially, it'll help you save that right front tire. I don't know that it's going to be a big difference here because we're not trying to double stint tires or anything. We're just running an hour, which is very much within range for these tires. So it shouldn't be too big of a deal. It is worth mentioning that right behind this guy, there's a guy by the name of Elliott Hellier. One of the fastest, if not the fastest driver in this field, in that Ford GT, has already broken the top 10. And Emerson, this guy coming from 23rd spot, it's a little scary for the rest of the field.
Yeah, certainly been trekking forward, and it'll be intriguing to see how this race continues to play on. Both everybody's so close together still, and with the large use of slipstream around here, there's still very much potential for Elliott to continue working his way through this field with ease.
This Ford sounds so good, looks so good, and oh, it's going to eat up that Corvette for breakfast, it looks like, as Brandon Waters got a bit loose out of turn 3, well, I guess that's 4. Is that 4? Yeah, it's 4. No, it's 3. I got to think about this, man. I never call corners at Daytona by their numbers unless it's the NASCAR corners. I had to really think about the International Horseshoe for a second there, but out of the International Horseshoe, there was that big bobble for the Corvette. And if you're listening, I know I'm talking a whole lot, but Elliott Hellier is very much putting the clutch in Emerson, using that NIRL fuel strategy, and putting the clutch in, saving big time into these braking zones.
Less time stopped in the pit box means more time racing on the track. And so that definitely can
see if he does it here. Watch the RPMs. Oh, yeah, way down. That was clutch in for a long time.
Yeah, you apply the pressure on the car in front, you save a little fuel, you keep the speed up. A lot of positives there, and it looks like Waters is going to be under attack here this time.
Yeah, I mean, Elliott's able to do this and still make moves, still make passes. He's able to sit back and save when he wants to, not pressure too many braking zones. And now when he wants to pass, he will go ahead and make this pass around the outside of Brandon Waters, your amateur race leader, and clears him by turn one. Ahead of these guys, though, Johnny Alford and Stan Donnet battling. Alford goes on by for the 7th spot. So move that Corvette ahead of that Porsche. And move Elliott Hellier, by the way, to 9th place.
Right, so then the top 9, then all pro drivers. As a result of that pass, and it looks like a little wide there going to Corvette. Keep it on the track there.
That was Brandon Carl a little bit wide in the in turn 1, and Moses Choi. Oh boy, that was scary up to the inside of Kenny's step, but that's a pass for 15th. A pass is a pass is a pass.
Yeah, cars around here off of turn 2. John Cole
again. It has been a rough couple of weeks for him.
It certainly has, hasn't it? And he collected somebody else as well. This is I saw a bunch of them going around. Like, oh boy, I was hoping they didn't come back across the track. I saw they flashed up across the timing screen.
It looks like something's going to happen ahead of him. James Dowling goes wide. Dowling comes back over, maybe. Yep, contact there with Maxwell, and that collects Sean Cole and sends him out into the grass. So Maxwell involved in that Corvette. And, oh, he came right back on in front of Nickham. And out of all of that, James Dowling gets away scot-free, although he has come into the pit lane, and that car, it looks like, is done.
Might have gotten some suspension damage there, but it looked like they were trying to go 3 wide through turn 2, and it's already hard enough to go single file through there, much less put 2 more cars in there.
On board now with 3rd place, Todd Alea.
Yeah, Todd Alea, he's been getting the runs here on Jan Christensen. Has had a couple opportunities to make the move at the turn 1, has not taken them. He's just sitting back and riding for the time being, but very much these top 3 still nose to tail, and of course one mistake could change this this running order around.
Now, something that is very much unofficial for now, but we're going to do it. We're going to try this out, and if this picks up a little bit of attention, we'll do it a little bit more for more leagues that we cover. But how about driver of the day, Emerson? I know F1 does it. I think other series, I'm sure, have something similar. But driver of the day, where fans are able to vote on who they think has been the best driver throughout the course of the race, we're going to try something similar. So we don't have the name completely set in stone. We'll call it driver of the day for now in the YouTube poll when we put it up here in about 20 more minutes. But we're going to ask all of you guys that are watching, even if you are a driver and you tune in towards the back end of this, you can vote for yourself or for your competitors or what have you. We're going to ask the driver of the day question, basically, and you can vote for whoever you think is the driver of the day, whoever you think has made the most impact. And I think we're already seeing one great option in Elliott Hellier. I don't know necessarily that he's earned it just yet because he is so fast and he might have hit something on the setup, but he's getting close, I think, to certainly earning a big-time nomination. He's at least in the conversation for a nomination, up so many positions. He's just really, really good. So there's a little bit of that asterisk. Like, you know, Lewis Hamilton could dominate a race, for example, but you might give driver of the day to maybe Checo Perez, who goes from maybe 5th to 2nd or something like that. So we're going to kind of watch how this goes throughout the course of the day. I think other drivers to mention certainly would be Brandon Waters, currently leading in amateur. And really, I think Jan Christensen in 2nd, a little bit better than we've seen him at all so far this season. Quite impressive so far from car 35.
Absolutely, and up here, everybody's, but of course, you said their teammates up here, they're playing nice, running their own race, and we continue to see everything play out. No need to make any, major moves right now. It's still so much racing to go. We're only on the 8th lap, and Still 46 minutes, 47 minutes, just ticked over to 46 minutes left in the race.
And who would be your nominations right now for driver of the day? Like who would be your 3 drivers to put up for a vote?
Well, certainly you look at Elliot Hellier, who's made a great run through to the middle of this field. I look at Ken Eastep, who's kind of kept himself out of trouble. He's worked his way up a good 8 spots or so from his starting position, and it may. I don't really know what a third would be. Maybe it comes from a driver who had an early mistake and has a good run back through the field. We'll have to see there, but for now, certainly Elliot Hellier and Ken Eastep are my 2 nominees for sure.
Joao Antonio could be in the conversation. He just made a big pass for the 4th position on Randall White, so move him up a spot. As now, you mentioned Kenny Sepp. He's battling with Brandon Carl. This is for 16th spot. And Carl gets the best of him for now. But you did see the pass briefly. Todd Alea over Jan Christensen. That backs them both up now a second from Sam Holt. And I think Alea's got some draft speed. I just don't know if he's actually better in the infield than Jan Christensen. I think that Ferrari might be a little bit better because these guys are quite a ways back now, the race leader. I'm kind of surprised Alea went for that move.
Yeah, I would have expected maybe for things to kind of play out a little bit more, maybe do a little bit more studying, see if there is actually a pace advantage or everybody's just riding, maybe wait for some strategy to play out, or certainly if you were the second or third cars in those lines, you could have saved some fuel. But Todd Alea has decided to go right on ahead and is gaining. It's now 0.8 of a second back from Sam Holt, but still a pretty large margin.
Just riding on board currently with Jan Christensen. A little over a half second back of Todd Alea. Problems, Dan Clar in the Le Mans chicane. And that rear wing is bent up on the right side.
That does not look...
That's a lot of damage.
Healthy. Yeah, that's a lot.
Let's go back and get a replay of what happened to the Wally's jeans machine. This is a big, big hit for him, too. On board with Dan Clar. Your amateur pole sitter today, one of the best amateur drivers of the season. But it all goes wrong right here on the Le Mans chicane.
Oh, man.
That is an unusual way to crash, but boy, is that a heavy way to crash.
Yeah, the rear end started to come around, right? And then he slightly caught the car on the curbing. But with that, it kind of just straight lined the car towards that inside wall.
Look at it here. He's going to come straight at us. Right there to that wall. I mean, the way he caught the left side of the car in that tire barrier and then flipped the car around into the right side, that is the unusual way to crash, but it's a very common place to crash. And that was close to Moses Choi going by. That is a big, big hit for Dan Clar. He's still on the racetrack, has not pitted yet. He's going to try and tough this one out to the pit stop. But he might have to pit sooner than later. He honestly might have to pit within the next 2 laps. He may have a meatball as well. So he might have to force his pit strategy and see if it'll work out for him.
Certainly, and that's one of the beasts here at Daytona. Is while it seems easy and it's fairly simple to get a grasp on this track, when you're pushing the limits here, there is tire barriers and guardrail all the way around waiting for you should you make a mistake like that. And it's just a small, simple mistake. He might have missed his braking zone by maybe 20 meters, and that could have been the result of that incident.
Back up to our leaders. Sam Holt, Todd Alea, Jan Christensen, your top 3. Separated by 1 second, but it was a lot tighter than that in turn 1. For a moment, it looked like Alea was going to have an opportunity to pass in that first corner, but no dice that time. We're working lap 11 of an expected 36 here today at Daytona, and the action is certainly not faltering at all. This is definitely going to be one of the best races, I think, of the season, and we're not even more than a third of the way into things.
Absolutely, it has. It's been very entertaining so far. and it looks to stay like that. We still have all these margins all within a second throughout the entire field. I know the top three have kind of put a little bit of a gap on the rest of the pro drivers, and then the pro drivers kind of put a gap on the amateur drivers. But from then on, it's pretty close margins all throughout.
Yeah, and Christensen's starting to fall back. The ideal range to draft is within 1 second, but when you have a car in front of you that has draft and they're closer to the car ahead, they can absolutely pull away from the draft that you're getting. And in this case, Alea much closer to Sam Holt, pulled a ton on Jan Christensen that time. Nearly out of the draft range, but Jan pulls back in a little bit into turn one. And of course, we know these guys are just trying to save fuel, but he's got to be a little bit more careful, I think, as Elliot Hellier is now into the 6th position, just worked on by Wolfgang Roush and Johnny Alford. And there's a battle right here. Joao Antonio and Randall White. These guys starting to get after it. This is the battle for 4th.
And here we go. Looks like two Porsches going at it here to the kink, and both drivers just working their way around. They do have to be mindful that Hellier is on his way, and Moses Choi on the pit lane.
Choi coming in for service. Only 25 cars here today, so he's got to go a ways down pit lane, and now we'll find his box. 188 goes on by it, actually. Well, perfectly right in, actually, as he will begin service, shuts the car off to save fuel. So this, I think, opens the pit window. And it makes sense. 20 minutes in, we see these guys pit inside of 20 minutes to go sometimes. This is right in the pit window, at least on the leading edge. Our leaders head through the Le Mans chicane, and while the pit window opens and we hit 20 minutes complete in this race, we're going to go Pit Stop TV side by side as things continue to just ramp up here at Daytona. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Welcome back to the virtual Daytona International Speedway. You never really did leave us, but we bring you back to the action here. 35, well, now inside of 35 minutes to go. Ed Santinelli did just pit and works back out of the pit lane. Moses Choi never did return to action. Neither did Sean Cole or James Dowling. So Santinelli the only car to pit. But now, here we go. We're going to change things up a little bit because Sam Holt has just dipped onto the pit lane. The race leader dips out of the way in front of Todd Alea and Jan Christensen. And Emerson, this actually might be really, really smart from Sam. He was up front. The guys behind him clearly were not going to try and pass him. They want to save fuel. So what Sam can do here is put himself deeper in the field, yes, but save fuel off of somebody else. This is actually really, really smart from Sam.
I was just thinking about that, right? Jan Christensen and oh my goodness, Todd Alea, they were both up there. They were just riding back there and really just using Sam Holt. And Sam, he comes in before the halfway mark. And you're right. I don't know where he's going to come out. Looks like he's not going to have that much traffic around him. So
no, he's 14 seconds behind David Payne.
Right.
So it was a chance taken, but maybe a chance missed for Sam Holt. Regardless, that is a new strategy move I think that we got to talk a lot more about in these kinds of races. We still have 5 races to go, even after today. So that I think is a big time strategy move that a lot of drivers can use in that kind of scenario where they're stuck out front and they won't get past. Go ahead and just pit, get in the middle of the field and save fuel back there.
Certainly, and there goes Schulteis through the pit lane, and you now wait to see what is there a response from the front too. Are they going to follow Sam in to try to kind of negate any difference there, or will they stay out, maybe work with one another?
Well, what's interesting is Jan Christensen's a teammate to Sam Holt, and Jan is now sitting behind Alea just saving fuel, which is very, very smart in a race like this. That is very, very smart. Here comes Wolfgang Rausch to the pit lane in his Porsche.
You mentioned that Alea may have more of a draft car. The Porsche maybe more of a draft car, and since Sam Holt came down the pit lane, you saw Christensen was much closer to Alea as a result of not having that draft car. So I think you're right with that. I guess he lost a little bit there through the infield, but going into one, Jan Christensen was much closer to Todd Alea than he was any time after Alea took second.
Christensen nearly a second back right now of Alea. This is kind of the danger zone where you might lose the draft when you pop back onto the oval. And yeah, that gap crept up for a moment. It comes back down right around 9/10. That's still danger zone. He's really got to push, I think, the bus stop to get back within range for the backside of the oval. Otherwise, sure, you might be saving fuel, but you're also losing time, and you can't do that. You want to do one, and that's save fuel. You do not want to lose time.
We watch here through the bus stop, and
made up a little bit.
Jan gains a bunch of time there, and he's going to have the advantage getting up to speed. It's going to look at 6/10. Now he's going to be getting more draft. Oh, and Dan Clark just left.
Yeah, Dan Clark finally calls it a day. By the way, Elliot Hellier is now third from 23rd. I think that might be your driver of the day, certainly. I think he's starting to prove it. And you hear the engine note all the way down for Jan Christensen. All the way down as he put the clutch into turn one. Elliot Hellier, though, in the third position now. Obviously, the one pit stop from Sam Holt is a big reason as to why he's third. But still, fourth place currently and closing in on your top two. Well, closing in on at least the leaders, potentially. This is huge for this Ford GT. I'm not going to say we're going to see it go to victory lane just yet today, but it's a chance. There's definitely a chance that it goes to victory lane.
It just might. It's certainly it's certainly viable for Hellier to continue that run through the field, and to think we were looking at Randall White and Joe Antonio. They were battling for what was fourth and what would have been third. They both were just passed up by Elliot Hellier, and that battle continues on. Actually, that battle's kind of faded as Randall White's over 1 second back from Joe Antonio now, but they were battling it, and we were looking at that for position for fourth, and they'd be the one or the other would have been in third now, but Hellier decided that it was going to be himself.
And for those of you watching today, by all means, let us know who your ideas for driver of the day might be as we eclipse halfway. The first half of this broadcast brought to you by Gomez Sim Industries. The back half of this broadcast brought to you by Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports. So a big shout out on that note to our partners here with the Simpit Road Racing Series, the Simpit.com, Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports. A shout out as well to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media Simcams, SimWrapMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. There's a battle for sixth. Johnny Alford, stand on it. Here we go down to turn one. Alford hanging on to that spot. It was down to a tenth or less when they came across the start-finish line, and it kind of spread back out as Stan fell back into the first corner. Oh my! Johnny Alford lights up the rears, and he's around. Trying to get that car restarted. There's a whole field coming through, though. He's going to back up onto the access road. And that is very smart for Johnny. But he stalled the car again. Gets it back refired, and he's on his way. Wow. He's actually got some damage, I think.
I guess so. With how low the car is to the ground, maybe going around it, because they didn't make car contact there.
They did not. Here's the onboard with Alford. Goes around on his own volition. Does not get hit by stand on it. Rolls backwards. 300 RPMs. He's got the car. Yeah. Restarts the car there. Reverses. I think stalls the car one more time. Right there. Yeah. Stalls the car. Refires. He gets rolling. Sounds hurt. And the steering looks a little bit wonky, but it sounds hurt, but I think he's okay.
And that's something, Andrew, I haven't seen much on the sim. Because usually drivers have auto start engine or some sort of assist that keeps the car running with a spin. And there, that is, I don't really see a car stall like that on iRacing all that much. Maybe I don't pay attention enough, but that's more new to me.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. Drivers usually do have auto clutch, but I appreciate a driver when they don't. So, Johnny Alford, props there, because you know what, it gets a little boring just having the sim save you every time. I like that you have to put the clutch in when you have to when you spin. I think that's the way it should be, but that's just me. As we watch Brandon Waters and David Payne, this is the battle for the amateur race lead. This is kind of snuck up underneath us here. This is very tight between these two at 8th and 9th on the racetrack currently. Payne in a Porsche. Waters in a Corvette. And Waters, you know what, we talked to him last week, wasn't it, where or was that Oberlo? I can't recall now. Oberlo won last week, actually. He called a shot. But Oberlo and Waters both have recently been really turning things up and looking so much better in the Simpit Road Racing Series. I've got to go back and just check the results, though. Where did Waters finish last week? I know it was pretty decent. At least I thought it was decent. Maybe it wasn't. He's actually not even in the top 20. He wasn't there last week, so that'll do it. But I got to say, the Corvettes in this amateur class, whether it's Waters or... Oh, his Payne actually goes off track. Whether it's Waters or Oberlo, they have really turned things up. But it's really satisfying to watch them get better as Payne's got to give that time up. He definitely cut the bus stop.
Yeah, certainly kicked up a cone with him as well. But you're right. And it's been intriguing to watch because the past couple of weeks, our point leader, Santinelli, he's been in trouble. He recovered very nicely at Silverstone. There's still plenty of time for Santinelli to make a recovery drive. But with Santinelli having trouble the past couple of weeks, that's kind of opening up the point standings a little bit in that amateur category.
Yeah, the Frito Sport 57, not even on our radar today. Currently 16th position. Really, like I said, just not even on our radar right now. This is not where we're used to seeing Edgar Santinelli at all. Currently 16th, started 17th, only as high as 13th, and as low as 21st. Granted, he has made his pit stop, so he's got that out of the way. But it's just not looking good for Santinelli right now, or any of the BMWs. Sarnquist is 15th, Schultheis is 18th. They're 15th, 16th, and 18th. I really thought they'd be better today.
That's intriguing that the BMW GTE car is not. There's a noticeable difference between the BMW and the rest of its competition here in this GTE class here at Daytona.
Inside of 25 minutes to go, Emerson, thanks so much for joining us. JP was the kind of guy to go with at the start of the season, but he's had a couple of things come up the last couple of weeks, so good to have you joining us for these couple of races. I know you were here for the season opener at COTA as well. And it's good, actually, as well, I think, to mix around voices sometimes.
It's been a blast. Again, I've other than driving them on the sim, I haven't really gotten the chance to sit and watch and kind of study GTE racing and kind of see the differences between GTEs and GT3s and stuff, because we've been spoiled with GT3 racing. We've gotten a good bit of that. To see a slightly different car category come upon the channel, I'm glad to have been a part of it, and I had the chance to cover 3 pretty good venues with COTA, Silverstone, and now Daytona.
Definitely 3 top-tier racetracks for the beginning of your time here at the Simpit Road Racing Series. We've got Monza next week. Then we're off, I want to say, to Red Bull Ring, then Le Mans, Sebring, and Fuji. And I think it's in that order as well. For some reason, the graphic is not loading up in the bin, but we can try and change that by the end of the broadcast. It's interesting to me that we're finally going to be going to Le Mans. That was a track that I said, I don't think we're ever going to broadcast. And, well, now we're going to go there with the Simpit Road Racing Series later this season, Le Mans. The full Le Mans, what is it, 8 miles or so? We're going to have 3-minute lap times, Emerson. 3:30s, or no, 3:40s, 3:50s, I think.
Finally, knowing every corner name at Le Mans is gonna mean something.
Yes, yeah, finally. Those Le Mans 24s, I think, are going to show their usefulness here soon. But that was a bit of a big time lift from Jan Christensen. He really pulled up on Todd Alea, and Alea having to bear the full brunt of this air is slowing him down, which is slowing Christensen down because he's staying behind to save fuel as they come up on a slow car that's a Lesh Mom. Elliot Hellier, Emerson, is only a second back of Jan Christensen now. He's really closing in. I don't know where Sam Holt is going to be after the pit stops, but based on Elliott, I know he's not able to save fuel right now. Elliott might be in the battle for the race win.
He just might. This is starting to become a gnarly drive. There was only, 25 cars that started today. He started 23rd. This is effectively a run through the entire field now. It's not just, the back portion and the midfield. Now we're starting to get through a good bit of the pros, and Elliot Hellier is making it look easy.
So here we go. We're going to go ahead and put up the driver of the day vote. Some options we're putting in: Jan Christensen, Todd Alea, Elliot Hellier certainly is one to add. I think as well you've got to add, I lost his name now, the amateur leader Brandon Waters. He's actually just pitted. A lot of drivers just pitted that lap, so we're going to start to see a lot of drivers, I think, pit the rest of these laps, and our leaders certainly are due in soon. Randall White and Joe Antonio battling, but let's see if these guys pit. The answer is no, but Christensen around the outside could be going, yes, he takes the race lead away.
Well, with that, them racing, that's going to allow Elliot Hellier, he's now within a second of Todd Alea.
So the driver of the day vote is going up with the options of Jan Christensen, Todd Alea, Elliot Hellier, and Brandon Waters. And by all means, we've got 15 of you guys watching over on YouTube. Anybody else who's watching on other platforms, head to YouTube, take part in the vote. Very much curious as to what you guys think as Joey Antonio comes into the pit lane. Stan Donnett as well. So pit stops underway here at Daytona. Here comes Johnny Alford in the Corvette. Meanwhile, Sam Holt, who pitted 8 laps ago, cycles into 6th currently. He just passed, he's 9 seconds back of Kevin Burrows. That puts Sam Holt 32 seconds behind the race leader as Alford comes into his box.
For what it's worth, Sam Holt, he's ran faster than Christensen and Alea, but Hellier has ran last lap at least ran 3/10 quicker than Sam Holt.
Simultaneously, we're going to see the fuel savings for Christensen take over here in a second as he pulls up on Kenny Step. It's going to be a tough bus stop for him, but once he's back up past E-Step here, he is really going to show the fuel savings after the pit lane. And even there, you see Yan is running the top side of the racetrack to save some fuel. Now he dips down. Well, really, it's not even saving fuel at that point. He's just trying to get the draft. He's trying to pull away from Todd Alea now. He has executed his fuel savings. He needs to get the heck away from Todd Alea, who's going to pit. So that will do it, and here comes Elliott Hellier. I am a little bit concerned, though, as much as we're talking up this strategy for Hellier, or this run anyways, he has got to get through this pit stop nice and cleanly and try to save some time, and he's not been able to save much fuel.
No, he hasn't. It's been a stellar drive. He's going to have to spend a little bit more time on the pit lane here, but from what it looks like, Hellier's had the lap time advantage that he can spend this time on the pit lane. It's going to be a 14-second stop time in the stall for Hellier.
14 seconds, that is right on par with most of these guys, but a little bit slow compared to Todd Alea. Todd, a 13.2 second stop. You see the difference there. And there goes Sam Holt. Right on by in the picture from the onboard. Sam will pass Todd Alea, will pass Elliott Hellier. And now we get to sit back and watch if Elliott's able to run that Porsche down.
I think what's going to be, what could potentially be the demise here of Sam Holt is if Todd Alea is able to stick with Sam Holt in the slipstream and Hellier still runs faster than Alea. He's able to kind of ladder his way to Sam Holt. That's probably how Hellier would get back in this battle.
Jan Christensen through the Le Mans chicane should pit this time or the next time. The Ferraris with Terry Crouch, they have gone a lap long in a couple of races this season. Ricotta definitely stands out to me. Road America as well. So Yan could go one extra lap here compared to Randall White, but here we go. Yeah, Yan's going to pit now. Randall should come in this lap too, as he's at a NASCAR 4 now. And yes, he will pit.
Where does Jan Christensen come out in relation to the leaders? We're shaping up for a 4-car battle potentially here, Andrew.
Yes, and I was just going to mention Todd Alea is still within range of Sam Holt. They are only 0.6 apart. Elliott Hellier is 2 seconds back of them, so he's going to have to settle in, I think, for a couple of laps and manage that Ford GT, but he is not out of this race by any means. He's very much within the race, and that is a quick stop for Christensen, 12.97 seconds, faster than any of the leaders by 0.3 of a second in the box. Christensen, can he beat Sam Holt? The answer is no. There's the pit limiter, or the actual pit exit cone, and Sam Holt goes by. There goes Todd Alea, nearly contact into the International Horseshoe, and Christensen slides into third.
My goodness, how close was that?
But you know where that came down to, Emerson? Everything he gained in the box, he lost on the lane. The lane time for Christensen, 44.5. For Alea, 44.2. That negated everything he had in fuel savings in the box, and that's why he comes out in third.
Crazy. I wonder if maybe Alea was more aggressive, slowing down for the pit entry. I'd imagine that's really the only point I could see a difference in lane time because you're traveling for pit limit all the way down.
Elliott Hellier now in the conversation. He is 1.5 seconds behind Christensen, so he's there. He just needs a little bit of help to get into the draft. Meanwhile, in amateur, Brandon Waters has a 1 second gap to David Payne. He is 10th currently overall. Leading the show, though, in class over David Payne. Ed Sancinelli is third. Chris Schultheis is fourth in class. Kenny Stepp will be fifth. Mike Nickham sixth. And Nicholas Batista seventh. Alesh Mom eighth. I'm going to assume that Dale Maxwell will be an amateur, so he should be ninth ahead of Dan Clark for your top 10 amateur, well, your only 10 amateur drivers of the day here at Daytona. But a look at Brandon Waters as he rolls on through the Le Mans chicane. That Corvette looks so poised. A really good stance through that chicane. And I think David Payne cut the chicane again, and problems again, Christensen.
Oh, no.
I think that answers our question about him potentially getting driver of the day. Unfortunately, his drive is going to come to an end in turn 1. Let's go on board with him here. They were snaking a little bit out of NASCAR 4. We're going to join him in the tri-oval. This into turn 1 gets a little bit deep, and that Ferrari whips around, and that's the pit wall.
And again, that's so easy to do. These Ferraris feel so nervous, so unbalanced, slowing down for turn 1. And it caught out Jan Christensen there. Again, you think about all the times he's gone through turn 1. Most of the time, he's been either saving fuel or not, with as much pressure as racing for the win here. And maybe just a little too much brake pressure sends the rear end around.
We talked last week about Christensen leaving the race early. Didn't really seem like he necessarily needed to. It sounds like he's just had a rough time in general, and we certainly hope he's doing okay. No details on it, but it sounds like it's just been a rough time for him. And I certainly understand that. Genuinely understand that one. So hopefully he's able to turn things around soon and get back to, I think, a better state of mind and be able to put some good races up. He's got the speed, clearly, Emerson. He's got the talent. It's just a matter of putting a race together and outlasting some of these guys. I will mention it started to look like a 2-car race up front. Elliott Hellier, I don't know if it's the brakes or what it is right now, but he is just not able to push the same way as he was early. He's not making up any time on these guys up front.
Yeah,
and he's still saving fuel.
Oh man, so I wonder if that's part of it. He underfueled the car to try to make up time or try to stay with. Because right now, Sam Holt, Todd Lade, they're both running 1 and 2 tenths quicker than Hellier last time by the start finish.
I also want to mention, scrolling through the Simpit crew Discord today, it's been a rough week for a lot of guys, including Andrew White, who was not able to make the race today, and Dave Blair, and a lot of guys out there that it sounds like they've just had some things go wrong in life recently. So our best wishes and condolences go out to you guys. It just sounds like life in general has been kind of rough for a lot of you guys, and we certainly hope that things turn around here very, very soon. We're on board with Elliott Hellier. This is 3rd place currently, tracking to 2nd. As Mike Nickham actually has just had a problem. He's off in the grass somewhere in the infield. Looks like in the International Horseshoe, and he will come to a stop.
Yeah, Mike Nickham's one of those drivers who's had a rough day as well. Lap 1 went around coming into the West Horseshoe, and it's kind of set the tone for his whole day today, unfortunately.
Here's the replay of Mike Nickham's incident in the International Horseshoe. Gets through the first bit just fine, and just a lazy spin on exit. It's really easy to do in a sports car, honestly. Especially when the TC kicks in, the car just kind of lazily lays over, and it's tough to get it to come back around.
Oh, you're almost gone. You're at the mercy of the traction control at that point. It's a helpless feeling, especially because it's just slowly spinning around, and you hope there's no traffic coming by, and it's tough.
Here we go, battle for 7th. Kevin Burrows, Wolfgang Rausch. We have not talked about these guys very much, but side by side, the couple of Porsches come to the line, and Wolfgang will take that spot away for 7th spot. That moves Philip Burrows. Kevin Burrows, 1 spot back into 8th. And David Payne actually is starting to make some time up here on Brandon Waters. We might have a battle, although Johnny Alford's starting to close in. Granted, Alford is a pro. Payne is actually making up time here on Waters. We may have an amateur race for the win yet.
Absolutely, and we go again. We almost had one at Silverstone, right? And then incident points came into play. Hopefully that does not become a factor tonight. But looking at David Payne, continue to close that gap on Brandon Waters. Oh my goodness. There into the West Horseshoe. Waters, he is in trouble. If you look at the lap time, 7 tenths quicker was David Payne.
That Porsche's coming alive here at the later stages. 10.5 minutes to go, but Alford is sitting back here, and I think Alford's going to play into this battle. I'm not so sure that he's going to sit back and just allow these guys to do their thing. I think Alford's going to get up there and try and pass both of these cars. And I think he's got the speed to do it. Also, Jan Christensen checking into the YouTube chat. I do see out there, Jan. It sounds like Elliott Hellier is in fuel trouble. As we have noted, he is still saving fuel. And, that was maybe a track cut for Waters. We'll see if he slows down at all. But Yeah, as we noted, Hellier's still saving fuel even after the pit stop when Sam Holt and Alea are running wide open. That's a problem for the Ford GT.
Yes, it is. It's going to be hard to reel that back in as well. 10 minutes at a track where you're basically on throttle the entire time. And here we go. Payne looking high. Can't get there. Waters will cover it off. Here goes Alfred.
Alfred up the inside, breaking up this lead battle in amateur. And, I'll be honest, I don't like this. I don't like it very much. It's actually Wolfgang Rausch just had a moment. Slides back to these guys. I know it's not Alfred's job to make sure that these guys can race with a race win, but they are racing for their race win. I'm not so sure I like a car being in the middle of that personally. But so long as it's nice and clean here, I think we can kind of go on past it, let it happen. I just know, man, if I was David Payne and I just got passed by a pro, especially as, right front lockup there for Waters, especially because these guys get scored in different standings, I would not be happy. That's now impeding my ability to be able to battle with the guy that I want to race for a win for. Payne, I think, may let Alfred know that. I'm not sure.
Certainly, I can see the frustration, especially for David Payne. At the same time, Alfred has his race going on right in front of this as well.
He's got the carrot in front of Waters.
Double-edged sword. It's hard to play both sides of that. Now Waters has to defend against Alfred.
Oh, and Waters in deep. That's a big problem. Alfred narrowly gets by. And I think David Payne is suddenly okay because he is your amateur race leader up out of the Le Mans chicane. A big issue for Brandon Waters. And I think he just goosed himself, did Brandon Waters. He just got in deep and completely missed the chicane. Wow. Someone's pitting. That is Wolfgang Rausch coming in along with Kevin Burrows. These guys completely either missed the fuel game or this is a penalty. Well, Burrows is going to come into the box. That tells me it's a fuel issue. Wolfgang Rausch will go straight through. That is a penalty.
I was going to wonder if they were battling, did they 4X each other into a penalty?
Likely, yeah. And it's a pass-through for Wolfgang. I'm surprised that Burrows came in and stopped. I wonder if he thought it was a stop and go and not just a drive-through. Intriguing, for sure.
That is... that reminds me... It's almost a similar feeling or a similar look to me than when you look at maybe like in the NASCAR Xfinity Series when two cars bump draft and both cars have to come down.
Yeah, it actually is similar in a couple of ways there. I agree. Just checking into the Driver of the Day vote, it looks like currently we are splitting the vote a few different ways. No votes for Todd Alea, which I'm actually surprised about considering he's second place. He's actually the top running driver that is on that list, and he has no votes. So I'm pretty surprised by that one. But Jan Christensen is third with 22% of the 9 votes. Brandon Waters is second with 33%. And Elliot Hellier has 44%.
Todd Alea has played a nice race today. Should get a couple votes at least, but for what it's worth, he still has to race Sam Holt and has been behind Sam Holt most of the day.
Yeah, again, I'm honestly surprised that there's not at least one vote for Todd. I mean, he's putting together a beautiful race, and he's very much within contention to win this race where the others are not. And, I would have put Sam Holt on there, but we expect this out of Sam. We don't necessarily expect this out of Todd Alea, even at a wild card race. This is a beautiful race he's putting together. He's been second just about the entire day, even had some laps led, 8 of them, in fact, as he pulls up to Sam Holt once again into the Le Mans chicane.
And Todd Alea, he is there. He's going to have the slipstream. He's going to have the run. Will he make the move here? We're looking at 5.5 minutes to go.
Oh, no, he's got to slow down.
Oh, that would explain a little bit.
Oh, my goodness. Suddenly, that's it. I don't see Sam Holt making a mistake big enough for Todd Alea to get back into it. Let's go back and watch the replay of this run through the bus stop for Todd Alea and see where he cut. It's not the first apex. It's not the second apex. It's got to be the third or fourth. That there. Yep, that is definitely a cut.
And that one, yes, by iRacing standards, it's a corner cut, and you gained an advantage by iRacing standards and gave you a slowdown. But you feel in your right mind, you were just taking a corner normally. The car kind of trekked out there. Maybe the car's on a different balance because less fuel's in the car. That one hurts.
Meanwhile, this is your amateur race win. David Payne, Brandon Waters. Boy, that was close that time. Through the tri-oval and into turn one. You can see now there's nobody ahead of Alfred. He gets by those couple of cars by default, Wolfgang Roush and Kevin Burrows. But these two, Payne and Waters, this is going to be a lot of fun.
And while Alfred, he's not been able to pull away from these two. So I've seen Payne kind of jump Alfred again. And now that there's no immediate battle in front of Alfred, unless something were to happen here in the late stages of the race, now I think definitely Alfred is not required, but I think it'd be the right thing for him to kind of pull over, just let these guys do their thing.
Well, I think he's doing the right thing right now. Keep racing, because if he pulls over, that almost plays into Brandon Waters' hand more than it does David Payne. At this point, Alfred is playing the race naturally, right? He's doing his own thing, and sure, Payne is able to use the draft right now, but I almost think it'd be worse a little bit if he were to pull over. We'll see. We'll see what he does. It looks like he's going to keep with it. He's going to finish 7th likely today as Payne and Waters do some battle behind him. This is the onboard with Payne. And I think he's just got Waters covered up right now. It's going to be tough, I think, to pass this Porsche.
Yeah, as soon as I say that, it does look like now Alfred is
7/10.
opening up the gap. And
7.5.
Yep.
8/10 almost.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine Waters is. Well, I guess this is Payne getting the draft from Alfred.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's a big part of it. Is he's got the draft right in front of him, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Is the draft is good for about a second, but if you're close to if the guy you're drafting is closer to somebody else, he's going to pull more on you than you will on him. So the car in the middle gets the best scenario here. And we certainly saw that with Payne, but at the same time, he had to check up for Alfred a little bit in the infield. I think Alfred is a little worse than Payne in the infield. Payne is a little worse than Alfred on the oval. Two minutes to go, Emerson. It's lap 34 of an expected 36. And these guys are 42 seconds behind the race leader. Where does that put us as far as getting the white flag? Well, here we go. Sam Holt out of NASCAR 4 will take lap 35 here. So we will get the white flag next time around. 2 laps to go.
Plenty of time for him to get another lap in there.
Back then to the amateur race lead. David Payne, Brandon Waters. What do you do here if you're Waters? You're in a car that maybe isn't quite as good, but you've been leading a bunch today. Obviously, the guy in front of you has better draft. How do you make this pass, Orson?
It's tough. You have to play the game. You have to push it every braking zone here. You only got a couple laps left. Keep the pressure on. Don't let Payne think he's home free. You have to keep the pressure on. Keep it close, and don't clip the grass.
Payne almost caught the pit wall there for a second. Coming around turn 1, and now Waters, oh boy, he's a second back. This is not good.
Got to capitalize on his strengths and figure out whatever, if there is any weaknesses for Payne, he's got to take advantage of all of those.
Meanwhile, in Driver of the Day news, Elliott Hellier is still leading that vote. I can't say I'm surprised. He has had a fantastic day, up 20 spots, so I can't argue with that. But still no votes for Todd Alea, interestingly enough, as David Payne is going to come around and extend that gap over Waters. And if he's able to get over a second this time, Emerson, I think the nail's in the coffin just about. And yes, it's over a second already. As that happens, Sam Holt is into turn one. White flag is out here at Daytona International Speedway for Sam Holt, Todd Alea, Elliott Hellier. 1 lap to go in round 5 for the Simpit Road Racing Series.
What a drive from Sam Holt, right? We, of course, expect the Sam Holt to perform like so, but to come above the pressure from Alea and Christensen and potentially Hellier and keep his composure and put this race, the 60 minutes it's been, and then the rest of this lap, put it together so far. It's been a great drive.
Sam Holt, I think, really is proving why he is in the position he's in, even after missing a race. He won't take the points lead today, but I think he's going to at some point this season. And once he does, I don't think he looks back at all. It's been so impressive what he's been able to do every time he's dominated. Granted, last week when he maybe should have dominated at Silverstone, it just didn't happen. Bumps in the road, whatever you want to call it. But he's been so good, even at the wild card kind of race here at Daytona, when anybody really could have won. At least we thought. It's not the case. And yeah, now it's just on throttle time for Sam Holt around NASCAR 3 and 4. The high banks at Daytona are going to give a win to the Englishman. Sam Holt is going to win his 3rd race on this. No! No!
You are kidding me.
iRacing not top 10.
Oh my goodness.
Have you ever?
No, I've never.
Sam Holt.
Throttle time. It was just the trial, and feet literally can smell the paint of the start finish line right in front of him.
And he just toes. The frustration, I can't blame him. No telling where he's going to finish, but what that does is give Todd Alea the win at Daytona. No votes for driver of the day, but the man is going victory lane today at Daytona Beach.
Who needs driver of the day?
Wow.
Win.
That did take our attention a little bit away from the amateur win, which, by the way, goes to David Payne. He hangs on over Brandon Waters.
I think that's a nice recovery, especially from the heartbreak last week of Silverstone for David Payne. Great race, ran, and played it right there at the end.
I'm not going to lie, Emerson. I'm catching flies a little bit. I can't believe what I've just seen. I genuinely cannot believe what I've just seen.
Sam Holt's going to go to the last car in the lead lap, I'd imagine, which would be 15th, potentially 16th in scoring.
So for context, and we'll go back and get a replay here, Sam Holt just had a hardware failure. I don't think we've been entirely clear about that yet, because I see people asking what happened. Sam Holt just had a hardware failure. Literally, between the restart zone and the start-finish line, his hardware failed and brought him to a complete stop. And it sounds like
he just said whole PC froze and it disconnected his wheel and pedals.
Yup. Wow.
And all his pedals were full, and brake, throttle, and clutch all full.
Incredible. We're going to try and get a replay of this. Bear with us. I genuinely have never in my life seen that. This is on board with Sam Holt coming to the checkered flag.
Wow.
And actually this will be better because you'll be able to really see the checkered flag above. He's swerving, he's flashing the lights right there. It fails. You can see he blinks out. And there's the checkered flag waving, and there goes Todd Alea. Staggering.
I wonder, and maybe not. Maybe I'm putting a little too much stock into him. If there was anything, maybe something on the setup that moved in the weaving. I don't know.
I'm speechless. Usually I've got something, and then here's Tadalea, and he suddenly gets the win! I mean, what in the world?
My goodness, if Tadalea were to stream or record his facial reaction to that,
I want it from the whole top three. Tadalea, well, I guess Sam Holt, Tadalea, and Elliott Hellier for sure. This is Tadalea's onboard. See him blink out and just come to a stop. Wow.
And Alea, he was flashing his lights too. I think he was either just satisfied to finish the whole 60 minutes, or was really just happy to come home second, and all of a sudden has the win in his lap.
I'm just stunned. I'm genuinely stunned, and it takes a lot, honestly, to do that to me. I've seen a lot of things on iRacing in the 6 or however many years I've been on this service. I have not seen that before. I've seen a lot of hardware failures. I have not seen that before. That is just... That is the craziest lack of luck I've ever seen for a driver on iRacing. I genuinely. To dominate the entire race, and let's go through the results, Emerson. We'll see where he finishes here in a moment. Tadalea, though, going to victory lane by 2.5 seconds over Elliott Hellier. Randall White goes to third, so he will take the podium with Joao Antonio and Stan Donna and even Johnny Alford there in the group of pros up front. And then look at that. 3 amateur drivers in a row. Ed Sancinelli getting up into the top 10 today and moving ahead of Wolfgang Roush. That is the way to hang on if you're Ed Sancinelli and still make a good day out of what wasn't. So David Payne wins an amateur over Brandon Waters and Edgar Sancinelli, and Wolfgang Roush will take a top 10.
Yeah, brilliant recovery drive 2 weeks in a row for Sancinelli as Kevin Burrows comes home 11, Frank Carl 12, Chris Schulteis there 13th, and Ken Eastep there in 14th to wrap up the lead lap drivers. And oh my goodness, Sam Holt, it'll fall down to 15th, and of course it's not representative of where he was running as the lead car all day long. Going to be 1 lap off the pace because he was feet away from the start finish line. There to finish 15th, the first driver 1 lap down. Sarnquist will finish in 16th. It'll be Batista in 17th, Leishman there in 18th, Jan Christensen in 19th, and Dale Maxwell in 20th.
So Tadalea, Elliott Hellier, and Sam Holt, if you guys could report to the broadcast waiting room. I understand, Sam, if you don't want to, but we'd love to talk to you if possible. And then David Payne and Brandon Waters, please join as well. As far as the next page of results, Mike Nickham, 12 laps down in 21st. Dan Clark, 22nd. Moses Choi, 23rd. Sean Cole, James Dowling, Sven Labe wrap up the rest of the field. I am still absolutely stunned. I'm not sure how to comprehend what just happened. I'm not sure that Sam Holt is going to be able to comprehend what happened. And honestly, in his position, I wouldn't be able to. There simply would not be comprehension of what just happened. I would not be able to handle it genuinely. That has got to be so genuinely frustrating. I can't even imagine. So Tadalea, I'll see you asking the Simpit Road League channel. It is the Green Room. Yes, you are in the right place. And actually, let's go ahead and bring in race winner today at Daytona. Todd, did you think we'd be saying that earlier today?
I'm not sure. I was, everything was going the way I was hoping the race would go. I was sticking with Sam and I was saving fuel, and then I really started to push a little towards the end to try to make him start driving erratically, looking in his mirrors, and then I ended up making a mistake myself, and I got a slowdown with like 3 or 4 laps to go, and then I just couldn't catch up to him after that. He was just super fast. But I guess he deserved this win. I got to be honest. He was definitely fast the whole race. I was behind him a lot during the race, and he was definitely the faster car today. But I told you last week, Daytona is the great equalizer.
Well, how about what just happened? Literally feet from the start-finish line. What was going through your mind? And by all means, do you have a recording of that reaction somewhere? Because, boy, we'd like to see it.
Yeah, I did record it. I was commenting because nobody knew about it except for me because it happened right in front of me. And then he typed in that his computer froze and he went full hard lock and it went into the wall. So, and then he got disconnected. So he didn't even finish in front of in the top 3 or 4. I think he got kicked to 1 lap down. I'm looking at the standings right now, unless it's adjusted by the by the powers that be. Right now, I show him as 15th place, but definitely he didn't deserve that.
Well, this puts you in a fantastic spot to move up a lot of positions in the point standings, or at least add a lot of markers to your tally. How do you go into Monza then next week and keep this up?
Well, Monza's similar to Daytona, I guess, in a way. There's a lot of straightaways, a lot of drafting. Even though we broke away at the very beginning in the first lap, the lead pack, that might happen again at Monza. And then today I had 2 teammates in front of me, and I saw what was going on, and I tried to break it up early, which I was successful at, so that Sam and who was in front of me? Who was that? Was it Randall? No, I think it was who was following him most of the race, and then he crashed. Jan, yeah, him and Jan were working together, and I noticed their teammates, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to break this up. So that's when I was a little aggressive at the beginning to try to break up between first and second, and I'm thinking that's probably going to be a similar strategy next week at Monza. I love Monza, so I'm all for it. Let's go.
Well, there you go. Todd Alea is ready for another one. Todd, congratulations tonight. You've been making some noise recently, and we put up a driver of the day vote for the first time, and amazingly, you're on there, but 1 vote it looks like maybe for the guy who goes to victory lane. I think that's a chip on the block. Really, that is. That's crazy to me, but fantastic drive today, and maybe get that driver of the day next week at Monza. We're looking forward to it.
I'm just happy not to be the first loser today, so...
there you go, yeah, your fortune changed very quickly.
Yeah. Alright, thanks guys.
Congratulations once again, Todd. I'm still just absolutely dumbfounded as to what happened here, but maybe Elliot Hellier can tell a little more about the story. Emerson, here he is, in his Ford GT, going 2nd place tonight.
And what a drive it was for Elliot Hellier. A drive through the field from 23rd to 2nd. And be it that 25 cars started today, that's essentially a run through the field. Elliot, how did you do it?
Lots of draft. The Ford was crazy fast in a straight line. So I just tried to survive through the infield and then just sort of try and drive past people on the straight, which seemed to mostly work. I came unstuck a bit with that tactic at the end, really. I was a lap short on everybody, so you could see at the end where my pace kind of just fell off a cliff, is basically because I was going to run out of fuel. So, yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good fun coming through.
It certainly looked like a lot of fun from our perspective. This is the first time we see a Ford in the series for us. So what is it that attracted you to the Ford tonight? And I don't know if you're going to run it the rest of the season, but what is it that attracts you to the Ford?
Mainly the livery on it. I think, yeah, probably that as well. I think Andrew just absolutely begging for a Ford to be in the series. I was like, oh, I need to oblige. But I mean, the livery looks, in my personal opinion, it looks amazing, especially with like the little sort of LEDs you have on at night. So, I mean, I've got a soft spot for the Fords like GT3 and GTE. So, with the GTE being competitive, I thought I'll give it a go. I'll run it for the rest of the season, however many rounds I can do, just to put one in the field and hopefully show that you can drive it well.
There you go. And I have to ask, the final run to the line, what do you make of everything that happened with Sam, and what was your reaction?
It's just unbelievable. It's just the most unbelievable bit of bad luck I've ever known of. His windows crashed. His windows crashed like 20 feet from the line, and rather than letting him roll to the end or crashing him into the wall where he might have gone over the line, it stuck 100% brake, throttle and clutch on, and he was just stuck. it just stuck, just couldn't move. That's unbelievable. I've never heard of that before, ever. Never seen it, never heard of it. Like insanely unlucky. So just Sam deserved to win it tonight, and that's just the most unfortunate thing I've ever seen.
It was absolutely wild for us as well. But there you are, Elliot Hellier, our driver of the day, absolutely deserving. 23rd to second, an amazing drive. Congratulations on the second place finish, and best luck to you in the next event you decide to run.
Oh, thank you very much, and cheers for that. Cheers, guys that watched as well. Much appreciated.
There you go. Elliot Hellier wins our first ever driver of the day. And, it's changing. We say driver of the day, but it is changing a little bit. Brandon Waters is now even with Elliot in votes. So we'll maybe have to let it go for a little bit and confirm a winner at the end of the broadcast. We'll see. But let's go on down to the amateur class. David Payne wins today in his Porsche. And David, it was an interesting race, kind of up and down from what we saw. What did you see?
I think I was hanging on to it for most of it, just doing the best I could. And I guess the other amateurs ahead of me, some fell out to attrition. And then Brandon just kind of slowed down the last few laps, and I held my own, and can't complain.
Strategically, what do you do to make sure you're in a position to where you don't have to back off and maybe save fuel if that's what it was for Brandon? What do you do to make sure that you don't have to do that you can run full, wide open at the end of the race?
My strategy is if I'm behind a pro driver, I stay there. I use their draft. That lets me let off the throttle, and I just... different class. I don't need to pass them, and I just do that. Simple.
Well, there you go. David Payne. I think a pretty simple victory then for car 73. Another victory on the season. I believe you opened things up at Coda with a win, so
yes.
yeah, adding another one to the resume. David, congratulations tonight. I know you're going to hate me mentioning this by the end of the season, but you're looking pretty ripe for promotion to pro next season, so we'll see if that happens.
Yes, we'll see. Thanks for your support.
Once again, congratulations, David, and we'll move things down then to Brandon Waters, who is currently still in the tie for driver of the day with Elliot Hellier. Looks like maybe Emerson stepped away for a moment, but Brandon, we bring you in, and you're currently in a tie for the driver of the day vote, and, well, I can't disagree with it. You come from behind and started 11th. You just really maintained and dominated, I'd say, in the amateur class. What did it look like from behind the wheel for you?
It looked like I'm really rusty, and I needed a lot more practice. But it was a good time. I guess I didn't even know we were doing a driver of the day, but it's an honor to be included with any of those guys.
Yeah, it's something we're trying out, and it seems like it's generating some buzz already with some drivers and family and friends that are watching along, so we're glad to do it, and looks like it's going to stick. But clearly, I think you're going to be in a position to earn more of these, battling with guys like David Payne at the top of the amateur class, and you nearly had that win. What happened at the back end of the race there? Why'd you have to seemingly slow down?
Combination of a couple things, but the biggest factor was just really struggled with grip there at the end. Believe another car when we were going into turn one kind of threw off my timing and lost some ground to those guys, and so after that I just couldn't get enough drive to catch up to them. So
well, it was certainly a pretty good drive here. I think a stellar drive almost really for this amateur class, and I will say, unfortunately, it's looking like Elliot just beat you out with another vote in the driver of the day, but the fact that you're up there, I think, is a big statement, and I can't wait to see you go for more of these driver of the day, and hopefully, more importantly, more amateur wins. Congratulations on the run today. Hopefully you win one of these soon.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I guess since it's political season in the U.S. right now, I'm kind of brushed up on it, but anybody that votes for me right now to push me over the top will make sure you get a Simpit sticker from Sean.
There you go. So I guarantee it sounds like on the campaign trail for Brandon Waters. Buddy, congratulations on a good run today, and we'll see you next week at Monza.
Thanks, guys.
Brandon Waters there with a second place finish in amateur, and making some guarantees on the campaign to get that driver of the day vote. But seriously, I'm glad that we're doing this, and it seems like it's going to be a hit already. So we'll keep up with this and do some more with it soon. But Emerson, we went through the race results already. Take me through your thoughts, trying to sum up what happened there for Sam Holt and everything else. I don't know how to end this broadcast, honestly, after that.
It's a wild one for sure, right? I was looking at the rest of the time and scoring. I was kind of already moved on from the pro category in my mind. I was looking at the gap between the amateur drivers, and then all of a sudden I look up and there's the blink for Sam. I'm like, oh no! I thought maybe he lagged out at first. He comes back and he stopped. Like, oh my goodness, it's so incredibly unlucky. Sam Holt, again, he drove a fantastic race and was very deserving of the win. He was robbed of feet from the start finish line, and I guess unfortunately that can happen in sim racing.
It can happen, and as we found out today, it will happen. I'm still in complete shock that it actually happened, though, to Sam Holt that close to the start-finish line. I'm sure he would have preferred it at any other point in time. Earlier in the lap, later in the lap, literally any other point in time, he probably would have been a little more okay with it, but still, just shocking what happened there at the end of the race. Thankful that he was able to put on that kind of show, and thankful that at least went to somebody very deserving still in Todd Alea, but so unfortunate, certainly, for Sam Holt, and hopefully he's able to turn things around next week at Monza and show us why he's in the position he is. Let's talk about our upcoming broadcast here at Pit Stop TV. Of course, well, you see Sunday still has the Daytona slot in there. It's because we covered a Formula 3 league earlier this morning. But Wednesday, Emerson, tell us all about the Outlaw Sim Series. You guys just eliminated a bunch of drivers, and you're getting ready to do so again here in 3 more races, and this round begins at Homestead.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting ready to begin our round of 8, and it's going to be pretty competitive. We've had 6 drivers kind of be the big mainstays at the top of the standings, gathering the wins throughout the season. Also, big momentum gainers of 7th place Jacob Reeves and Scott Bay's been able to piece together some good runs. And this is kind of the last bit of normalcy when it comes to the Outlaw schedule. It's a 1.5 miles in Homestead, Miami, because after that we go to the new Atlanta Super Speedway and then a couple short tracks to finish out the schedule. So if a driver relies on that kind of normalcy, it's going to be a very important night, Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern at Homestead, Miami.
And you can see Sunday in a week's time, 1:30 Eastern, we have the Simpit Road Racing Series, of course, from Monza, Italy, as we take on the next round. And we've got, if we're going to Monza, we have to have a Ferrari in the picture, right, Emerson? You have to include the Ferrari there. And I'm excited to see, hopefully, maybe the Ferrari of Jan Christensen or Terry Crouch take the victory next week. Hopefully it's a Ferrari that goes to victory lane. It would just feel right. But regardless, we're very excited to get on down the road and get to Monza next week. Thanks so much for watching tonight. Obviously, follow along on social media, as we always talk about: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, the whole lot of them. We certainly do appreciate it, but that will do it for us this evening from Daytona International Speedway. A big shout out to Emerson for joining me on the call for this one. A big shout out to our partners here with the Simpit Road Racing Series, thesimpit.com, Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports, and our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media, SimCams, SimRepMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup in Cryo in Maine. That will do it for us this evening from Daytona. Once again, thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next time, hopefully, for the Outlaw Sim Series from Homestead, just a little ways away in the virtual state of Florida. It's going to be exciting.